Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermage, and it is time for our monthly update for October 2023. There's a lot going on right now. So first, what did I finish for September? I only finished two books in September, and I finished a bunch of half books. So I'll explain that in a minute. But to start off with, what I did finish in September was Perido Street Station by China Mieville. And I did a review on this, a kind of different kind of review. So you can check that out. But also, I was part of a read along on Angela's channel, Unicorns Read, and we had a blast talking about this with a whole bunch of other folks on there. Raf from Raf Blue Text and Mary from Mary Reads to Live, and we were talking with Vasha from Reading by the Rainy Mountain, and we were also talking with Dan from the Black and Blue Collar Reader, and so that was a lot of fun. And this was a really spectacularly written book. It had a lot of weird stuff in it, a lot of genre bending stuff going on, and it had really scary moths. So if you're squeamish about bugs, you might want to avoid this one. But if you're not, if you can take the weird, the macabre, and the really good, interesting, unique writing style, then this is the book for you. I also finished Mark Lawrence's The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I really love this book. This one was right up my alley. It's about a magical library, and so for me, that's enough said. That sparked my interest right there. But it's also a beautiful story about two protagonists, two points of view in this book that are very well fleshed out characters. You love the characters in this book, and there is some deep running themes throughout this book that are very poignant. This book is one of my favorites in the year. It will be in my top five. Uh, yeah, definitely. So check that book out. The Book That Wouldn't Burn, highly recommended. So those are the two I actually finished in the month. But here's the key. What am I in the middle of? I'm in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm like halfway through a bunch of books right now. One of them is Cities in Flight. I don't have it on me, but there it is. By James Blish. And this is part of the read along we're doing from pagechewing.com that Vasha from Reading by the Rainy Mountain is putting on. And this is part of the Sci-Fi Masterworks collection. This is the third one we're doing, split over 2 months. So I already did a review on the first half of this volume, which is actually four little novels put into one volume. So we already talked about the first two volumes, and I am now into the third book in this collection of short novels. And the third book is actually a hodgepodge of serial written short stories that were put together for the collection that Blish wrote in the late 50s. And it's kind of chaotic. So you have to really bear down and keep in mind that these stories were not originally written as one. So there's a little bit of dissonance in the narrative of the novel itself. So we'll see how that goes. Eventually, I'll put out a review for the second half of this collection of books here. So I'm over halfway through that. I'm almost done the third novel, actually, getting into the fourth. And so moving on from there, I am halfway through this chunker. Toll the Hounds by Steven Erikson. Um, all know I love Malazan, and I'm loving absolutely loving Toll the Hounds and all the stuff that it brings to it. And so I'm hoping that by the end of October I'll have that done. Um, I am also halfway through Philip Chase's Return to Adon. This is my self-published read, and this is a spectacular read so far. So, like I said, I'm almost halfway through this one. And of course, I have shown this before, but Philip Chase was so kind to send me an advance copy and signed it. And I'm really enjoying this, not just because Philip's a great guy, but also because it's a great story too, and it's a lot of fun to read. Um, I am also reading Fugitive Prince by Januarts. I've actually read the first 3 chapters in preparation for our talk next weekend, Sunday, uh, on the first 3 chapters of this book, and I've actually been patiently waiting to get into the next 3 chapters. So, once again, this is part of the Wars of Light and Shadow. This is book 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it, and the first book in the new arc of the Alliance of Light. And excellent series. If you haven't picked this up yet, do yourself a favor and please start reading this series. All right. And I think that's everything I'm actively reading right now. What I hope to get into once I finish one of those off is The Last of the Atalanteans by P.L. Stewart. For my next self-pub read, I really want to get into that. And so I know I mentioned that last month, but there wasn't time in September, so I'm hoping to get to that for October. And then I have a few other books on the docket. One of those is The Tombs of Adon by Ursula K. Le Guin. Classic Earthsea novel, the second one, and I really want to get into that. I also would love to get into a historical fiction. Amitav Ghosh, Sea of Poppies, which was Varsha's recommendation from Book Think #2, if you saw that on my channel. So I did pick it up, and I do hope to get into that at some point. And I doubt I'll get to this in October, but I did pick up Shadow and Claw by Gene Wolfe, which is 2 novels in one. In the first half of the Book of the New Sun series by classic Gene Wolfe, and highly touted writer that I would love to get into at some point here. Those are my books on the docket. And also, I had a discussion with Chris Moen about J.C.M. Burns' Wistful Ascending. That was on Book Think #3. And I'm also hoping to at some point get to Wistful Ascending. He made that book sound really enticing and a lot of fun to read. So I'm hoping to get to that. So I also want to take this opportunity to talk about some of the comics I've been reading recently. Either fantasy, sci-fi, horror type base, or even history comics I've been reading lately. And of course, I'm reading Gideon Falls, the series here. This is volume 4. There's 6 of these, and I'm doing podcasts with Steve from Steve Talks Books and Chris Moen, and we're doing that on pagechewing.com. So please be sure to check out those conversations about this wacky and wonderful series by Jeff Lemire. But other comics I've also been reading recently. I still read the Saga series whenever it comes out by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. And so this is like the 66th issue here, and these two have been going at it for quite a number of years now, and it's still an interesting and fun read, space opera type of fantasy. I finished up Koshi in Hell by Mike Mignola and Ben Stenbeck, and This is part of the Hellboy universe, and was a really wacky, cool story set in hell. Um, you had to be familiar with the Hellboy universe in order to really understand what's going on here. But I always try to keep up with the latest in the Hellboy saga. Um, I also finished off Parker Girls by Terry Moore. Terry Moore is one of the best writer and artist combinations in the industry. So if you haven't checked out in Paradise by Terry Moore and all the subsequent series that came out of that, do yourself a favor. Strangers in Paradise is available in all kinds of different trade paperback forms and collections, so check that out. I've been having fun with Rick Remender's The Sacrifices. I like Rick Remender's stuff, and this is a fantasy-based series that I'm looking forward to continuing on with that. This is an interesting one. It's Quest by Jonathan Luna. It has it's basically a quest by a princess to find a prince that's been captured by demons. So it has a very um, kind of a Middle Asian feel to it. So it's a very interesting book that has been coming out recently. I've been enjoying. This one is The Hunger in the Dusk. This is a fantasy where orcs are kind of like regular regular race. This is one of those fantasy that takes the monster out of your typical monster races and makes them into like real people. So it's pretty interesting. This is by G. Willow Wilson, and not a bad comic. Titan Comics has taken over the Conan the Barbarian license from Marvel, and they're putting out some pretty cool comics. So if you haven't checked those out, if you're a Conan fan, these are fun to read. Uh, it's Conan, so you pretty much know what to expect with those. After all these years, Sergio Aragonese is still doing Gru, still doing the same jokes over and over, and it's a lot of fun to read Gru. So I don't know if you never checked out Gru, check out Gru. It's great. Um, Another series I've been enjoying is a series called Dead Romans, and this is a historical fiction by Mike Kennedy, and I've been enjoying this book. I'm not usually. I was a little hesitant to get into this one, but it's actually lived up to the any expectations I might have had, or gone beyond any non expectations I had, and has been a pretty interesting story so far about Romans who are in Germanic lands and are getting driven out, basically. Um, this one here was a graphic novel called Cossacks, and it says Volume One, although it's kind of self-contained. Um, and it deals with this is also a historical fiction that deals with the Cossacks on the Great Plains of Russia there, um, back in the Middle Ages, and so that was pretty cool and pretty well done. So that's part of a slew of comics that I've been dipping into on a monthly basis here, and so check some of those out if you ever get the chance. They're pretty good. They're pretty a lot of fun to read. And so I think that's it for this month. Let me know what you read last month in September, or what you plan to read coming up. And as always, be good to each other. Thank you.